On today's show, we take an early look at the Calder Trophy race for the 2022-23 season, the latest NHL prospects news from all over the league, and a look at 5 early steals from the 2022 draft. All that and more today on Locked On NHL Prospects.
You are Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to the Locked On NHL Prospects podcast. My name is Hadi Kalakesh. I am a scout and prospect analyst on multiple platforms, including this one, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Now, today we're going to take a look at the Calder Trophy race, an early look at the race from the perspective of the last 10-ish games that have been played across the board, across all NHL teams. We're going to take a look at players like Matty Beniers, Shane Pinto, Dylan Gunther, players who have had very, very good starts to this season and who have set themselves up to be in the running for the Calder Trophy. After that, we'll take a quick look at some latest news all around the league, from Trevor Zegras' fine for what was a pretty dangerous act, to Marco Rossi's first NHL point, and then we're going to take a look at 5 early steals from the 2022 draft, all coming up in the next few segments of this podcast. So let's get right into it. We'll take a look at the Calder Trophy race and who I think are the 5 players who are the most likely to end the season as Calder Trophy winners based on their start and based on how they've been doing so far. So I'm going to start with a player that I think has set themselves up the most and the best in order to win that trophy, and that's Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken. 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points in 11 games. 7 of those 9 points have come at even strength. He's been driving play at 5-on-5. He's been playing at a high pace. He's often been the lead play driver on his line, so he's not really relying on his teammates to drive the puck up the ice towards the offensive zone and create chances once he's there. His expected goals for percentage is at 52.25%. Anything above 50% is going to be a very good metric. That means that the rookie is driving play positively. His team is getting more expected goals for than against when he's on the ice. And he's been averaging 17 minutes and 35 seconds of average time on ice, which is it's a bit funny given his teammates situation, which we'll get to later. Shane Wright's not been playing a lot. What I also really like about Matty Beniers is he has taken 0 penalties so far in these 11 games, and he's drawn 4 penalties. So he's been doing good in terms of penalty differential, staying out of the box, and doing the right things to get opponents into the penalty box and give his team an opportunity on the power play. So he's been playing really well. His faceoff percentage is at 39%, which honestly isn't bad for a first NHL season. I feel like Matty Beniers can be a very, very solid player for many years to come for the Kraken. I feel like down the line, he's going to be either a very good, he's either going to be an average first line center or a very, very good second line center for the Kraken down the road. He does a bit of everything and does it really well. I think one of the main development objectives for him heading out of the draft and into a season at the University of Michigan was to put on weight and become more solid along the boards, win more puck battles in all areas of the ice. And I think he's done a solid job of doing that. So for me, Matty Beniers has set himself up the best in order to be the front runner for the Calder Trophy. Again, it's early in the season. We're taking an early look right now to see how these different prospects are doing. There's a lot of time and a lot of runway for players to stand out. But for me, Beniers is the guy so far. Moving on to the second player I think has set himself up best. To me, that's Shane Pinto. Pinto has 6 goals and an assist in 9 games. He's got 5 even strength points. He's been averaging about 14 minutes of ice time a game. And what's really obvious about Shane Pinto's game is how good of a goal scorer he is, how outstanding he is defensively for his age as well. He's already winning most of his faceoffs. He's at 56.9% in terms of faceoff winning percentage so far on the season. He's also got a lot of D zone and neutral zone starts. So he's playing in dangerous situations for the Ottawa Senators so far this season. And the only thing that's really concerning in his play is that his play driving metric or subpar or subpar. He's not really up to par in terms of Corsi for, Fenwick for, expected goals for, all the metrics that indicate that his team has possession and is doing good things with it when he's on the ice. It's sort of below average in a sense. So his opponents are creating more chances than his team when he's on the ice. That's why he's not the front runner for me. Otherwise, I'm a very big fan of what Shane Pinto has to bring to an NHL team. The amount of defensive acumen and goal scoring ability that he has, that combination is going to be really solid as he grows into his frame, as he adds some layers to his deception and manipulation game. He's going to be a very, very interesting prospect for the Ottawa Senators moving forward. Now, that's my top two. I'm gonna name you my third player in the list for the Calder Trophy, and that is the goaltender from the Vegas Golden Knights, Logan Thompson. Thompson has played 7 games so far for the Knights. He's pretty much taken the starting role. He's got a 938 save percentage with a 1.73 goals against average so far through those 7 games. He's got a 5-2-0 record for the Golden Knights, and if it weren't for the fact that he was 25, um, he would probably be the front runner for me in this race. I mean, what he's done so far for the Golden Knights has been pretty good, but I kind of don't want a Michael Bunting repeat where we're giving too much credit to a 25-year-old based on status. I mean, technically speaking, yes, he is a rookie, but he's been playing professional hockey for a while already. Um, there's another there's another rookie netminder who has better stats than Thompson, which I'll mention later on, but I he's played 4 games so far, so I'm not really sort of too confident on that. If we're gonna place a netminder in the top 5 for the Calder Trophy race so far, it's gonna be Logan Thompson based on merit. He's just taken that he's forcibly taken that starting netminder role and has done great things with it so far. He's even got 5 goals scored, goals saved above expected. So he's saving some very dangerous shots as well so far this season. So he's doing really, really well, and that's why I have him in my top 3. Now, for our fourth player in the rankings for the Calder Trophy, I've got Dylan Gunther. Gunther to me has grown with each game. Now he's got 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points in 8 games. Most of those have come on the power play. He's averaging about 12 minutes and 36 seconds of ice time a game. But like I said, every game he looks more and more like an NHLer, and he's such a good shooter. He's an outstanding stick handler. He's going to be a weapon on the power play for years to come, and I think he's already headed there right now with the Arizona Coyotes. I wouldn't be surprised to see him end the season with 20, 25 goals, 50 points, that kind of range of production. He's already off to a great start, and I think it's only going to go up from here. I predict great things for Dylan Gunther down the road. Now he's already kind of pretty bad at even strength. I think his expected goals for percentage was maybe 29 or 30%, something like that, which means that the other team has 70% of expected goals when he's on the ice. So at even strength is kind of rough, but it is the Coyotes. So I mean, I wouldn't expect huge things from any player on that lineup in terms of expected goals and team metrics. So I'm not too worried. For me, Gunther is in the race, and I think he's going to get better with as the games roll on. He's picked it up already. I can feel that he's got some more in him that he's bringing out. Um, the cold start was kind of rough for him, but the more you watch him, the more you see sort of the outline of a very good prospect. Now, for the final player in the top 5, for me, it's Kalen Addison of the Minnesota Wild. He's got 7 assists in 10 games, only 2 even strength points. So 5 of his 7 assists have come on the power play. He's been averaging 18 minutes and 9 seconds a game, so playing quite a lot for the Wild. His PDO has been terrible. So to give you a rundown of what PDO is, it's basically a stat that calculates luck when you're on the ice. So it's basically the team's on ice shooting percentage when you're there and the goalie's save percentage when you're there, and you add those two metric and you're supposed to get a number around 1. If you get lower than 1, you're having bad luck, either that your goalie's letting in muffins from the point, or your teammates cannot for the life of them put the puck in the net. Or if you have something like a 1.2 PDO, it's like every second shot's going in, your goalie's making saves left and right when you're on the ice. His is at 0.889, so it's pretty rough. Um, but he's above 50% in Corsi 4, Fenwick 4, expected goals for, scoring chances for versus against, and hydrogen chances for versus against. So he's driving play very nicely at 5 on 5, and he shines really bright on the power play as well, which are sort of two different facets of the game completely. These stats that I just mentioned, these advanced stats, do not take into account power play time. It's only 5 on 5. So he's doing great at 5 on 5 for his team and doing great on the power play. He's a great distributor. He makes great decisions from the point. I see great things in the future for Kalen Addison. I'm just not too sure how long he can keep this up. I mean, 7 points in 10 games is pretty good for a rookie defenseman. I don't think he ends the season with 7 points in every 10 games, but he is off to a great start, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him climb into the top three if he keeps this going. Now, for our honorable mentions, for to close this off, we've got Stuart Skinner, who was the other netminder I wanted to mention. He leads the league in goals against average and save percentage. He has only played 4 games though, so I really want to see a couple more games from him before I feel comfortable ranking him above Logan Thompson in the Calder Trophy race. Then we've got Cole Perfetti and Kent Johnson, who've both got 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points in 9 games each. And finally, Owen Power, who is the most utilized rookie in the Calder Trophy race. He's playing above 22 minutes. He's got 5 assists in 10 games. Put him in there because he is the most used and the most trusted by his team already. So that rounds it up for the Calder Trophy race. Now, coming up to more prospect news from around the NHL after this quick word from our sponsors. Do you like betting? BetOnline.net is your number one source for any wager that interests you. From the NFL to the NBA to the MLB, and even NCAA football, UFC, golf, anything you like, they have you covered. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in depth analysis on every game on their website or app. They're, of course, a great source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting so you can keep up with bets as they unfold. They've got up to the minute scores for every sport out there. They're the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, let's go through some of the storylines from the NHL's top prospects. Starting off, we're going to talk about Marco Rossi, the Minnesota Wild prospect who just earned his first NHL point versus the Habs on a goal by Kirill Kaprizov. Rossi's a great story. I mean, this is a player who a year ago had life-threatening complications from COVID, 2 years ago rather, life-threatening complications from COVID. He missed a whole year. Then he comes back in the last season and absolutely dominates the AHL with the Iowa Wild. He scored 53 points in 63 games last season, and then he's finally this year getting his full-time shot at the NHL level. He's sharing ice time with Matt Boldy, with Kirill Kaprizov, with other very good players on the Wild, and he's looking great despite the fact that he's only got 1 point in 9 games. So I'm really hopeful for what Rossi can bring. He's always been one of my favorite prospects. I love how defensively responsible he is, on top of having a high end shot and really good awareness. He's a shorter player, but he's really built like a stump. Like he's really difficult to move around and get off balance and stuff like that. He's very solid. Um, and he's just very feisty for a player of his size. You see a lot of fire in his game. He's barreling down on players. He's attacking the net. He's battling hard for pucks, that kind of thing. I mean, he's a fighter, and it's been very clear so far for him from the what he's gone through to the type of plays that he makes on a regular basis. It's just a matter of time before he gets his first NHL goal. And I'm really hopeful for what the Wild have here in Marco Rossi. He's an excellent prospect. Moving on, we've got Trevor Zegras, who got fined $1,500 for slashing against the Sharks. But honestly, it was a spear right to the midsection. It genuinely looked more like an attempt to neuter Matt Benning than an attempt to slash him. So he probably deserved some games for that, but he's a first time offender and a rookie. Well, not a rookie, he's a sophomore, but he gets away with that given the fact that he's a first time offender. What's funny to me though is he ragged on Jay Beagle after a game where he and Troy Terry were pretty much targeted by Coyotes players throughout the game, including Beagle, who took a run at Troy Terry during the game. That's what he was frustrated about was, you know, just after hits, stuff like that, they would just linger on for an extra minute. throw an extra hit after the whistle, stuff like that. I mean, he clearly doesn't like these antics. So I was very much surprised to see that from Zegras, especially since this is a player who's supremely skilled. He's one of the most electrifying forwards in the league, if not the most electrifying. He's got 6 goals and 2 assists in 10 games so far on the season for the Ducks. He doesn't need to do this. He's already got a spotlight on him with his Michigans and between the leg plays. He doesn't need to draw any more anger from opponents. They're already on them. They've already got their eye on him. I mean, this is not a player who needs to do this at all. He's got the skill level to already get under opponents' skin with what he does on the ice. So, just play your game, get under their skin with what you're doing on the ice, and let your play speak for itself. I don't understand why Zegras did this. I was angry I was frustrated when Brad Marchand did this. I'm frustrated anytime I see any other player do this. It's a really dangerous play. It did deserve a fine. I think it deserved more. Um, I will definitely be frustrated when Trevor Zegras, who is one of the most supremely skilled prospects in the league, does something like this. It's just not necessary, and it's not good for what people are going to associate with him and his type of player. For me, Zegras represents the new age. He represents electrifying, skilled, confident players who um, reject the status quo of conformity and maturity in order to just go out there and have fun. And I think doing this stuff kind of puts a bad rep on the type of hockey that I would like to see moving forward. So, a couple more storylines. First, a quick shout out to the Habs rookie defensemen, Caden Gooley and Jordan Harris, who are both logging over 20 minutes a game and doing a great job with that ice time. I'll preface this by saying that Gooley was ready last year. Gooley was already an NHL ready defender last season, but that extra year in the WHL really was essential. He went from the Prince Albert Raiders, where he was sort of their main defensive guy, to the Edmonton Oil Kings, who were a very stacked team in the WHL, and um, he ended up exploring a lot of sides of his game. He was basically freed from his defensive shackles. Uh, in that one trade, he started activating a bunch in the offensive zone. He started venturing below the face-off dots to make plays in the offensive zone, and that helped him sort of unlock a lot of creativity and composure. And he started scanning a lot more, being more calm with the puck and more confident with it. That made him a better puck carrier going up the zone. That made him a better offensive weapon once he was in the zone, and that even made him a better defender because he wasn't throwing pucks up the boards the first chance he got. Uh, that composure, that calm, that confidence on the puck that he developed in the offensive zone transferred to the defensive zone, and made him a better breakout player. He would, instead of throwing the pucks up the boards, he would circle up behind the net, pause there for a second, evaluate his options, that kind of thing. And that really sort of, if Gooley doesn't spend that year in the WHL, that extra year, we don't see the same kid in Gooley than we do this year. So that's always very good. And shout out to Jordan Harris, who's, always been calm and composed under pressure, but he's really growing into his role with the Habs and forcing their hand. He was supposed to be one of the defenders on the rotation once their injured veteran defenders, Joel Edmondson and Mike Matheson, returned to the top four. But I think Jordan Harris has forced himself in the top four and is there to stay. He's more confident on the puck than he was. He's one of the most active Ds in the league from the point right now. I've seen him chase dump-ins deep in the offensive zone and start the cycle for his team. So shout out to those two. They're doing a great job. And now to finish up the segment, we go from two rookies who are among the most used players on their team to the single most underused prospect in the NHL, and that's Shane Wright. Wright is still stuck at 6 minutes and 50 a game on average. Um, as a comparison, Mark Kastelik is playing 9 minutes a game for Ottawa. This is a prospect who's just not allowed to play right now. He's scratched half the time, and the other half he's spending on the bench looking at his team playing and losing a lot of games. So, I mean, even wilder than this, look at this stat. In the NHL right now, there are 25 rookies, including 7 forwards, who have more than twice the ice time that Shane Wright does. Shane Wright's got 650 right now. I've counted 25 rookies who are at 13 minutes and 40 seconds or more a game on average. The 7 forwards are Mason McTavish, Matthias Michelli of the Arizona Coyotes, Wyatt Johnston from the Dallas Stars, Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators, who we mentioned before, Cole Perfetti, Matty Beniers, and Noah Cates of the Flyers. So 7 forwards and 18 defenders have more than twice the ice time that Shane Wright does right now, which to me, honestly, it's just not acceptable. I mean, you can't keep a player in your lineup and play him that little. Not only is it bad for him, especially of that age. I mean, I would be against this for any player. If you have a fourth liner, a 30-year-old fourth liner playing 6 minutes and 50 seconds a game, you're wasting resources and you're putting a lot of weight on your other forwards. And that's just unjust on them. So regardless of the situation, regardless of who it is, I do not understand the principle of playing any player 6 minutes and 50 seconds, much less the most recent fourth overall pick of the 2022 NHL draft. Speaking of which, we'll take a look at which players from the 2022 draft are looking like early steals right after these messages. All right, so for our final segment of the day, a quick rundown of 5 players from the 2022 NHL draft who are looking like absolute steals. Some of these players have simply outperformed their expectations and improved their point per game rate from last year in the same league, but others made the jump to the next level in their respective leagues and are looking outstanding so far against older competition. So to start us off, we're going to look at a New Jersey Devils prospect, the second round, 46th overall pick of the 2022 draft, Seamus Casey. This is a small, skillful right-handed defenseman who can skate really well and has outstanding passing. I really liked his game from day one, but there were some questions about hockey sense, about sort of hit or miss decisions under pressure. He's also 5'10" and 170-ish pounds, so that's kind of why he slipped. Teams really rarely are confident in smallish D-men, especially when they don't have generational level talent. That's why we saw Quinn Hughes get drafted high, but not a player like Seamus Casey. 9 points in 8 games so far for the University of Michigan. And the University of Michigan is a stacked team, and that might have contributed to the amount of points he has. But he is tied for first among Michigan's D-men. He's top 10 for points per game among NCAA defensemen for this year. And in terms of draft plus one players, when I say things like draft plus one, draft plus two, that means any player who's in the year following their draft year. That would be draft plus one. So he gets drafted in 2022. The 2022-23 season is his draft plus one season, that kind of thing, just to explain. In his draft plus one season, his point per game rate of 1.13 is I believe it's top 5 in history since the year 2000 for the NCAA. You don't go any earlier than that because it's honestly a different era of hockey. But in the modern era of NCAA hockey, Seamus Casey's having a top 5 season historically. He looks great, especially on the power play. He's just dominating the power play, making great decisions from the point, distributing very, very well, and taking the occasional shot that'll go in. And he's outscoring Luke Hughes so far. Luke Hughes, who was one of the top picks from 2021, who has always been good and has been performing admirably for Michigan. He's got one more point than him in those 8 games that Michigan's played. So really, really good start for Seamus Casey. Now moving on from him, we've got Fraser Minton, the 38th overall pick of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the second round. He's got 3 goals and 7 assists for 10 points in 5 games so far for the Kamloops Blazers. So he's off to a fiery start. He's big, he's physical, he's a really, really good goal scorer. He's starting to make a lot of really smart plays. He's added a lot of playmaking flair to his game, and that's sort of what has made him sort of look like a steal so far. He's also adding layers to his thought process on the ice, which I did not expect from him at all. He's always been very good in sort of reactive situations when he has to respond to a loose puck or to receiving a pass in the slot. He makes quick decisions and makes them really well. But I hadn't seen him be this proactive and show this level of anticipation before. It's next level this season for him. He sort of predicts his teammates' routes, his opponents' routes. He compensates for that by just the right amount of delay or firing a pass or accelerating a pass through a lane before it closes, stuff like that. He's very proactive and very good in terms of anticipation so far this year. So those are the things that I think have improved the most in Freddie Minton's game and why he seems like a steal. For me, he wasn't anywhere near the 38th overall pick. So the fact that the Leafs picked him up early, according to many rankings, and he still looked this good, yeah, this looks like a steal. Moving on from Minton, we go to the Montreal Canadiens' 62nd overall pick in the second round of the 2022 draft, Lane Hutson. Now, if you know anything about me, I have always been a big fan of Lane Hutson. I've always thought that he was first round talent, but it feels so good to have that confirmed now that he's in the NCAA. He's got 3 goals and 5 assists for 8 points in 7 games for Boston University. He is tied for first since the year 2000 in terms of points per game with Adam Fox. He's above Seamus Casey right now, who's also having a historical year. They're both way above Quinn Hughes, who had 1.04 points per game in his draft plus 1 year. He has looked absolutely mind blowingly good beyond just the score sheet. First off, he was 5'8" at the combine, which was extremely small and extremely frail. He's already grown to 5'9", which is pretty promising. But now you can, and that's kind of why he slipped to 62. I don't think I can name you any other major reasons, other than perhaps his skating not being ideal. I think his pivoting does need a lot of work in order to get to a proper level. But with the talent that he has, I mean, he's straight up been Boston University's best player so far as a freshman. He's electrifying with the puck. He's got crazy dekes. He's showcased the unbelievable playmaking that he has. I mean, like I said, same draft plus 1 point per game pace as Adam Fox, which is the best point per game pace in modern history in the NCAA for a draft plus 1 player. So a player of that age. Yes, he does need defensive improvement, but his offensive talent is otherworldly. And to me, him slipping to 62 was a mistake in and of itself. And it just feels really good to have that confirmed with his play so far in the NCAA for Boston University. Now, let's move into the third round. Now we're past the second. The player from the third round that I think has looked like a steal so far for me is the 96th overall pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Jordan Dumais. Now, Dumais is leading the queue in scoring right now with 12 goals and 15 assists for 27 points in 12 games for the Halifax Mooseheads. I'll say that again, 12 goals, 15 assists, 27 points in 12 games for the Halifax Mooseheads. He's looked even more manipulative in the offensive zone than he did last season. And that was already a strength of his when he was in the running for the QMJHL scoring title as a draft year player, which is extremely rare. Yes, he's 5'8" and 165 pounds, and he still can't skate very well, which is kind of an issue for me. But given the play that he's shown so far and what I've seen from him in the queue so far this year, I mean, how can you not call this player a steal? Now, rounding out the top 5 players that I think are the biggest steals of the 2022 draft so far, another Habs prospect, the fourth round, 127th overall pick of the Habs, Cédric Guédon. Now, Guédon is leading the Owen Sound attack with points with 18 points in 13 games, 5 goals and 13 assists. Simply put, he's the smartest player on the ice at all times. He drags players towards him to open up space behind him. He tricks defenders into pointing their stick one way and then passes the other. He'll wait them out really easily. He has area passes, give and goes, timely stick checks, all in his tool bag. He looks like a top 50 prospect in this draft easily, and he was picked outside of the top 100 at 127th overall. So for me, it's a no-brainer in his case. I think that the Habs got a really, really good prospect here, and I've done a video breakdown on his play on my personal YouTube channel. I'm a big fan. I really like what I see. He's a great goal scorer. He's always shown those smarts in his draft year, but I mean, watching him this year, it's been next level. So that rounds it out for the top 5 prospects from the 2022 draft that are already looking like steals. And that rounds it out for today's episode. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe, follow us on all platforms, and make sure to make Locked On NHL Prospects your first listen of the day. I've been Hattie Kalakash, and this has been Locked On NHL Prospects. I will see you tomorrow.